I think a lot of times people get caught up in the American dream where they have this image of America, this great country where everybody loves everybody and whatnot. And that's like an easier way of thinking about our world right now. And then sometimes when people are in their little bubbles, in a community where it's a lot of, white people that are hardworking, middle class, upper class, everybody gets along, and they just think that that's the rules of that world applies to the rules of Black people. So they can't even wrap their head around that there's a whole nother different rules. Like the rules are nothing alike, not even remotely similar. And so when they see stuff like George Floyd, it's easier to say stuff like he must have been a criminal, because then if he's not a criminal, you have to face that. No, people are just killing people. People are just killing good people. It's easier to think of killing a bad person, which that really is a problematic thinking that because a person is considered bad, they deserve to die. That's a whole nother issue. But it's still easier thinking someone got killed as bad than that's good, because then you have to look at yourself and say, why am I not so outraged, or why, it makes you look inner at yourself, and that makes people feel uncomfortable. So it's better just to look through rose color shades and just say, oh, this doesn't really happen, or the media is making it worse than what it is, or some other excuse, because it's easier.
I look at the issue where W.B. Du Bois, and then it's talked about even more in the book, How to Be Anti-Racist, of duality of the Black mind, where essentially we live two lives and we code switch regularly, where essentially this is us around Black people, and then this is us around the rest of the world, but also the need to be able to walk in both comfortably as a professional. And so there's a reckoning that even within ourselves, where we're in this constant battle and fight that's additional to what the world sees, that a lot of people are not having to watch and see. But now that we're opening this information up and we're talking about it more, a lot of people want to run from it, or they can't believe that they've been lied to, or it wasn't my grandfather's hard work, or I did not, I pulled myself up by the bootstraps. Well, who made the boot and who made the straps? So that having to reckon with what is going on inside is just causing many people to either open up and let it in, or causing other people to shut it down and close the shutters. And it's like somebody turns on the light in a dark room. Your immediate reaction is to close your eyes and bear down to not see it. So it's difficult, but it's time that we do that. And let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable so that we can get to a better space.
Thank you. So I want to now focus on patients, because all of you are healthcare professionals. Many people in the audience are also healthcare professionals. And so how do you think racism and trauma really affects a person's ability to seek medical help? What do you think is going on there? Because many times when we talk about health disparities, we talk about access to care. Well, not having certain things, physical things in the community, not having a certain amount of American doctors, for instance. But how does racism and trauma impact the individual's ability to actually maneuver and seek help in the healthcare system? And I'll start with you, Dr. Higgins, this time.
Well, you look at, as say, for example, with Dr. James, where she had talked about the issue of the microaggression of the patient towards her. But imagine if the roles are reversed, where I need the doctor's help, and now the doctor is being racist or doing a microaggression towards me. So you'll see that even in the clinical space, and that destroys the doctor-patient relationship. Understanding that because of the history of America, Black people don't trust America. We question everything that we hear. Why is that? Because it's generationally, if that's a word, and factually true of why we should not trust America. I mean, the evidence is all around us. So the issue is that when the doctor walks into the room, and this was a great study done by a good friend of mine, Dr. Oren Garrick, out in California, where they showed that if a Black patient saw a Black doctor, they were 20% more likely to follow what the doctor recommended. 20%. That's the racial disparity gap right there. If you just had Black people be able to see Black doctors, or having an issue of being able to trust your doctor, right? Now, the other side of that is, from the doctor's point of view, the Black patient is less likely to follow my recommendations. All right. So that is true. All right. But then the racism part is, well, when I do my thinking of what is the best treatment option, I don't think that this patient deserves the best treatment option, because we've been taught that these are honestly a subhuman group of people. They're not as intelligent. They're not as smart. There's some sort of hybrid. The stories of Africa, realizing that Africa has just as many million plus cities as do North and South America put together. These are developed nations and developed countries, and really they're quite performing us in their medical system in dealing with this COVID virus. But these things are taught through National Geographic and on the commercials where you donate the kids, and if you can give a nickel a day and things of that sort, realizing we've got our own poor here who are dying of, who have poor health as well. So because of that, it causes the doctor to not to see the humanity in the individual. So the mistrust goes all around between both parties, and therefore you see an increased rate of death of all natural causes of death that occur with Black people. And it's also been seen that almost no matter which study you show, if the scenario is given to a doctor of a Black patient versus a white patient, that the white patient has a better outcome and better medical decisions are made. And that is factually true through multiple studies over multiple generations of researching this.
Thank you. Dr. James, when we were having our pre-discussion, you were sharing with us certain situations that happened in the nephrology space where you saw some issues and biases towards patients. Would you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, if anybody ever asked me why I decided to become a nephrologist, is because I felt like they were always assumed to be non-compliant. You know, when a dialysis patient came to the ER, everybody was like, oh, you know, they always want pain medicine. And I just felt really bad because for me, the majority of those patients were Black people. So I was seeing my own race being treated as like in such a dismissive way. And I decided that I wanted to be part of the solution. So I decided to become a nephrologist. Actually, that's like probably the major reason why actually. And then when I became a nephrologist, I noticed things, as you know, Dr. Higgins talked about, the distrust of healthcare, which comes from, you know, years of being essentially guinea pigs for experimentations from slavery times to even more recently the Tuskegee trials, a little over, you know, 45 years ago, you know, where you don't understand that these patients are scared to come to you, take medication, because people give them stuff and it gives them illnesses or do experiments on them. Still to this day, a lot of my patients won't take flu shots because they think it's an experiment, you know? So for me, what I try to do as a physician is there's a good reason for them not to trust me. So instead of putting it on the patients of, well, they should be more compliant or they should trust me, I say there's a good reason why they don't trust healthcare providers. So it's my job to put in the extra work to get through them, build that trust. And it's not an immediate thing. And I do notice that if I ever took over a patient from another doctor, I noticed the patients that are lower income African Americans, they're not offered kidney biopsies as often, or they're not offered certain type of medications because they're assumed to either they're not going to take it anyway, or they won't be able to afford the medications, but it's because all these stereotypes that makes them get inferior care. And that's part of the reason why there's so many Black people on dialysis now. It's not as simple as, oh, Black people just eat bad or they don't take care of themselves. No, Black people aren't provided equal access to care and equal treatment by physicians, would push them in that position as well.